hot.
98 yesterday. I think we're going to match that today.
I mean, it's really hot.
It's getting pretty hot, and I need an air conditioner today.
New York is sweltering.
The horses are sent home. They're not allowed to work.
The city is under a water alert, and the smog is almost unbearable. Tonight, team coverage and how to beat the heat, protect yourself, and stay cool during Heat Wave 93. This is WNBC for New York. And now, this is News for New York.
Good evening, I'm Chuck Scarborough.
And I'm Carol Jenkins. The mercury is rising like lava through a volcano. How hot was it? Well, Central Park shot up to a record 100 degrees this afternoon, and Newark Airport hit an historic 105 degrees. Well, this cruel heat wave is beating down on the tri-state area. Sweat is dripping, shirts are sticking, and there's still no relief in sight. The demand for power to run air conditioners is peaking at its second highest level ever. A water advisory is in effect for the city where open hydrants are causing dangerously low pressure. And New York State has issued a special warning for the elderly. News 4's Steve Dunlop begins our team coverage.
Well, the readings we have here at the Con Ed Power Center indicate that peak demand is now starting to slacken a bit, but as you just heard, this is already the second biggest day in Con Ed history in terms of power demand. On Long Island, Lilco had its biggest day ever. The system is holding. There is power to spare, we're told, but Con Ed is warning that sporadic power outages here and there could develop anytime, especially since it's staying so warm at night when the equipment generally cools down, and it can't cool down as it usually does. In the meantime, another threat from the heat is making its presence known: low water pressure. The sight and sound of water gushing from a fire hydrant is a familiar one in parts of East Harlem, where apartments are cramped and hot, and air conditioning is a luxury.
It's hot, very hot, too hot.
It's kind of rough. That's why you see me out here kind of enjoying the little breeze from this cool water coming from across the street.
Illegal hydrant openings are causing a drop in water pressure so dramatic and potentially dangerous that city officials feel compelled to speak out.
The danger of low water pressure is the possibility of having inadequate water to attack a fire.
The city's water pressure is sinking pretty fast because of all the hydrants that are being opened by people looking for relief. So we need people to stop doing it, help us keep them closed.
Open hydrants can be equipped with a sprinkler cap available from local police precincts. They pose no threat to the city's water pressure and are a lot of fun, too. But water isn't the only problem. There's also lots of ozone in the air, making it harder to breathe. A health advisory is in effect for virtually the entire New York region. No surprise to the large numbers of us who found the air quality even worse than usual. Have you noticed a problem breathing today with all the air pollution?
Yes, very much so. It's a little bit hot out here today.
I just came back from Mexico, and it's much easier to breathe there, although it's much hotter than it is to breathe here. So it must be something with the ozone here.
And by the way, the Agriculture Department says this heat wave increases the chances of salmonella poisoning in some food products, so they're urging you to take extra care to make sure that perishable food stays cold before you cook it. That's it from the Con Ed Control Center. Steve Dunlop, News 4 Manhattan. Carol, back to you.
Thank you, Steve, very much. And if you are having a problem with the water pressure in your area, there is a special hotline you can call. The number is 718-699-9811. And once again, that's area code 718-699-9811.
New York State is sending out a hot weather warning tonight to nursing home operators. They're being told to take special precautions with the residents. Elderly people are much more vulnerable to heat-related problems like heat stroke and breathing difficulties. Doctors say it's the humidity that can do the most damage.
In this kind of weather, not only is it hot, but the humidity is very high, so a person cannot evaporate and cool their body properly as you would when the humidity is low.
Health experts say that all senior citizens should avoid the sun. They should drink plenty of water to avoid getting dehydrated. If the heat becomes too much for you, take steps to lower your body temperature, such as a cool bath or a shower. Wear light, loose-fitting clothing so the air can circulate. And if you're on any kind of medication, check with your doctor because some medicines tend to draw water out of your system. One major problem for people of all ages is the ozone. It can cause all sorts of respiratory problems. We have an ozone health advisory in effect across most of the tri-state area right now. And to find out about more about how ozone can affect you, you may call the ozone hotline. This is the number on your screen, 1-800-535-1345. That's 1-800-535-1345. And Ira Joe Fisher is in our weather center right now to explain what's causing this dangerous weather. Ira?
All right, Chuck, as we have mentioned all week long, let's look at our map here. It's a high-pressure ridge off the southeastern U.S. coast, and it is just stuck, not moving. It's entrenched, and that's blocking the movement of the wet weather in the nation's midsection from coming into our area. Now, that's a mixed blessing, of course. We certainly don't want heavy rains, but we could use the cooling that would accompany the heavy rains. Record heat in Central Park, 100, breaking 1937's reading of 98, and it got up to 105 in Newark. It got up to 96 in Atlantic City. And let's look quickly at some heat indexes around the tri-state area at the peak temperature times earlier this afternoon. 119 in Newark, 112 in Trenton. More on the forecast a little bit later. Chuck, Carol?
Well, thank you, Ira. Subway riders know some of the hottest spots around are underground. Still, the Transit Authority is boasting that 5,900 of its subway cars are air-conditioned. That's almost the entire fleet. However, the subway stations are not cooled, and so it's like a sauna down there waiting for a train. And waiting for a plane isn't much better. Newark Airport may be the hottest spot in New Jersey, with all the parking lots and highways keeping things cooking. But there may be an even hotter place and a tougher job out on Long Island. Roger Stern reports.
Next time you ride on the air-conditioned railroad, take a moment to remember Mike Lavoie and Joseph Balestra. They and their colleagues on the Long Island Railroad spent today walking along the hot tracks, making sure the rails haven't buckled in the heat.
Well, sometimes you get a dip on one rail and it causes the train to take a dip, and obviously isn't a comfortable ride for the passengers.
While Mike spots the tracks, Joseph spots Michael to make sure he isn't hit.
I'm flagging for him, which is my duty to make sure that no trains come behind him.
And take a look at the temperature.
So how far do you think you'll have walked by the end of this day?
About 5.5 miles from Valley Stream to Far Rockaway.
The heat's the hardest part of this job?
Yeah. If you just got to keep your mind on doing your job and not about how many miles you got to walk or what the temperature is, just keep going.
Think the passengers appreciate what you're doing out here?
I don't even know if they know who I am.
And he may be right.
Feel sorry for them?
No, because I think they've acclimated themselves to working outdoors in all kinds of weather.
According to our thermometer here, it's more than 100 degrees in the sun, and that hammer Michael is using weighs more than 15 pounds. And when he's not swinging it, he's carrying it along the 5 miles of his route. It's not as easy or as cool as it looks making the trains run. Roger Stern, News 4, Valley Stream.
So how do you keep cool when the heat is so oppressive? Ben Farnsworth went looking for some relief, and he is in Union, New Jersey right now with some ideas for us. Ben?
We're here at Harrow's pool shop on Route 22 in Union, and of course the obvious way to keep cool is to get yourself one of these, but not everybody can afford it. Of course, the other opportunity is to find yourself a good, go back to your air-conditioned house or apartment and be cooped up inside, but not everybody has air conditioning. However, to make sure that the air conditioning keeps running in central New Jersey, we stopped by the headquarters of Jersey Central Power and Light Company. This is the Energy Control Center at Jersey Central Power and Light Company. The generating stations that provide the air conditioning power are monitored from here. They have already set a megawatt record this week. What's likely to happen today?
So I think the likelihood is very high that we could exceed yesterday's peak and set another all-time peak today.
If you don't have air conditioning, how do you beat the heat? You might want to see a movie, any movie, that can be viewed in cool comfort.
To escape the heat, of course. They have nice air conditioning in here, and it's a beautiful theater.
If you wish to cool your body and enlighten your mind, there's always the library. Browse among the bindings and sneak a cool breather.
The library's not the coolest place in the county. Half it's cool and half it's hot, so pretty much so. We see a lot of people in here just coming to relax and read.
And the paper. You know, it says here, in a lot of towns, the temperature has been over 100 degrees the past couple of days. Who cares?
The life.
Worrying about that microphone.
I know. Hoping he had a wireless there. We'll hear a little sizzling. Well, still to come on this very hot Thursday evening, Mayor Jenkins visits some of the holiest places in Israel and gets into an unholy argument with a rival.
And we'll take a drive with a no-nonsense cab driver who wants the mayor's job. Ira Joe tells us when the sizzling weather will break, and the Mets bring back a familiar face.
That's right, Chuck. Coming up, McIlvaine comes home. In the season of woe, Mets fans turn their aching hearts to Joe. Plus, if they got paid by the hour, the Phillies would have the highest salaries in sports. Coming up tonight on News 4 at 6.
Well, it's official. New Yorkers are going to have 4 more years of rent regulations. Albany has approved the bill. The governor has signed it. The only exemptions, apartments renting for more than $2,000 a month and tenants earning more than $250,000 a year. Albany has also given the city the go-ahead to build a controversial incinerator in the Brooklyn Navy Yard. That plan has to obey tough air pollution rules, and that could cause big delays in this $500 million project. And talks are set to resume tomorrow in New Jersey's week-old garbage strike. 14 counties are affected, with Bergen, Passaic, and Essex the hardest hit.
Well, Mayor Jenkins is heading home from Israel right now. The trip was filled with ceremony and controversy, and there was plenty of both today. Gabe Pressman has been traveling with the mayor.
On his last day in a land torn by religious and political strife for 4,000 years, David Lincoln set a theme of peace. He traveled to the sacred sites of 3 great religions, looking down at the ruins of King David's tomb, then to Islam's holy ground, the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock, from which Muslims believe Muhammad ascended to heaven. He observed all the customs.
Choose okay.
In this remarkable city, you can walk a few steps and enter another religious world, the ancient Western Wall, sacred to Jews. The mayor's yarmulke spelled his name in Hebrew, an ecumenical prayer by a member of the Dinkins party. In the crush of the faithful, a friendly gesture from a rabbi who's one of his severest critics on Crown Heights.
I distinguish and I separate the man, the person, as mayor of the city of New York, from the way he handled himself during that, what I can only consider his tragic failure of leadership.
Under tight security because of recent terrorist incidents, he walked through the narrow streets of the old city to get to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre where Christ was buried. A priest sought a favor and gave him a vote of confidence.
And one last thing, would you call my mom up? Catherine in Long Island, I would appreciate it very much.
Absolutely.
Okay? Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. And when I get to New York, I'll give you a call. In about a year and a half.
Yeah,
you'll still be mayor.
Other places, other impressions. Yad Vashem. Monument to 6 million Jews, including 1.5 million children who perished in the Holocaust. A cantor intoned a prayer for men, women, and children who were slaughtered and burned to ashes. Then a farewell news conference at which the mayor's words turned from peace to political war as he responded to Rudolph Giuliani's criticism of his absence from New York.
He says, while he rides a jet plane, I travel around town in a van. What's your reaction?
I'm pleased to hear that he's traveling around town. Does he ever exit from the van?
As the mayor headed for home, he'd obviously shifted gears. He seemed eager to resume political hostilities with Rudolph Giuliani. In Jerusalem, Gabe Pressman, News 4 New York.
And we have a breaking story for you right now. We were told there's been a shooting inside the cafeteria of Mount Sinai Hospital. Dave Browdy is there now with a live update. Dave.
Well, actually, there were shots fired, but no one was hit. It looks like it was a robbery attempt. And what we can tell you is that one person was hurt, but not by gunfire, by mace, when a security guard somehow got into a struggle with a couple of folks here. That's the only person hurt. A lot of shots fired, a lot of very frightened people. Police have abandoned the search for the gunman. They say that he apparently got away through the hospital. Reporting live from Mount Sinai, I'm Dave Browdy, News 4. Now back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, time for sports now. We have some Mets news that doesn't involve a loss on the diamond today.
Well, not yet, but they are playing too, so the night is young. Well, the Mets unveiled their new general manager today. No surprise. Joe McIlvaine returns to Shea after his stint in San Diego. He'll replace half of Al Harrison. McIlvaine will be the baseball guy. Somebody else will be the businessman. McIlvaine was part...
When some players were let go in New York, like a Backman, for example, you had a Jeffries coming up. When Ray Knight was let go, you had a Dave Magadan, you had a Kevin Mitchell, you had a Howard Johnson behind them. So the reason sometimes for those is because you got good young players coming. The danger is let somebody go and not have anybody behind them.
So McIlvaine defending some of those moves he made when he was here last time. Mets and Dodgers playing a doubleheader at Shea tonight. The first game is well underway. Third inning, Corey Snyder batting for... They play the bottom of the third, and the Dodgers come in here after their marathon in Philadelphia last night. If you want to get your money's worth, you go to a Phillies game. Last week, they played 12 hours worth, didn't end their doubleheader with San Diego until 4:42 the next morning. Last night, only a mere 6 hours and 10 minutes to play, 20 innings of one game. Top of the Phillies year. The all-star teams were rounded out today. The Mets representative will be Bobby Bonilla. Every team has to have one. Jimmy Key joins Wade Boggs from the Yanks on the American League squad. The Yankees are limping down to Anaheim tonight after losing 5 of 6 thus far out west. Despite the swoon, the Yankees still only 2 games back at Toronto. And other baseball games being played. Baseball. Balls get over the wall, they get to the wall, they get off the wall. How about it's a double?
No, we just picked that up. Isn't it an out? It hasn't hit the ground yet. No, it doesn't work that way.
We'll see that in Spanning, no doubt, right?
You know that.
Thanks. Coming up next, we'll tell you how hot it got once again and when it will break. Ira Joe's tracking this heat wave.
And the cabbie who would be mayor. Meet the man who truly is taking his campaign to the streets. Up next.
Test drive the new 5 Series V8s at your authorized BMW dealer.
Okay, summer's staring you straight in the face. What do you think of? All right, that's cool. But do you know what summer makes me think of? That's right, air conditioners. The Whiz has the top brands, the highest efficiencies, and incredible, nobody beats the Whiz prices. You're hot? Get cool. For air conditioners this summer, nobody beats the Whiz.
Okay, we've got the big question. When is it going to be over?
And
You're
you know what
telling
the
us?
answer is? Don't know. It's the nearest, the way things look now, Tuesday perhaps. A front could perhaps come through. Keyword perhaps. Let's look outside right now where the temperature has fallen. Oh, yes, to 95 degrees. And we still see that oppressively hazy, humid sunshine outside your window. And other vital statistics germane to the weather. Southwest wind 9 miles an hour, relative humidity 48%, and the barometer steady at 29.92 inches. Record-setting high of 100 degrees today, breaking the old 98-degree reading, 1937, and the overnight low was 80 degrees. And at 6 o'clock, temperature still in the 90s and 101 at Newark. My. Where are these temperatures bound? Well, tonight, under the mostly clear skies, but we'll continue to have the haze and high humidity. Temperatures will fall back into the 70s and 80s. West-southwest wind tonight and in the morning. And we'll have lots of hazy sunshine in the morning, but lots of humidity to go with it. It's going to be extremely uncomfortable. 70s and 80s in the morning.